Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of the Easy SEO and More podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Dr. Ty, your host. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 questions that I get with SEO. I figured that's a great way to start off 2022. Answering these top questions that I get about search engine optimization. And the number one question is, can you guess what it is? I'm sure you can. Do I really need SEO? That is the number one question that I get from people. Now, of course, people don't call or email me and say, hey, do I really need this stuff? Do I really need to be paying you all that money to do this? No, that's not what happens. But maybe if I'm in a networking group or if I'm in a social group and people know that I'm an SEO person, they'll ask questions like that, especially people that are starting out. They'll say, hey, I just designed my website. Do I really need to do SEO on it? And the question, or the answer to that question, is an absolutely 100% no. You don't need SEO. Now, that may surprise you that I said that. You don't need SEO. You also don't need to eat. But eating is not a bad idea if you want to stay alive. And SEO isn't a bad idea if you want your business to grow. Because the number one way that people are finding businesses is through the search engines. And you got to be on page one of the search engines or they probably won't find you. If you don't think that's true, I want you to think about something, especially if you've got your business mostly on social media. When's the last time you yourself went to social media to try to find a product or service? Maybe you ask for recommendations. That would be good. You get recommendations from people. But I'll bet you then you went to their website, didn't you, to check them out? Your website needs to be your cornerstone, especially for local people. Even if you have an international business, you want to do local SEO first. And I talked about this back in episode 38. I have a link to it on the website. If you go to portbell.com/53, this is episode 53. So portbell.com/53, you'll get to this episode and I'll have links to everything else that I talk about as well. So you don't need SEO, but think about this. SEO is like the background music, the background music of a movie. Think of the theme song or the theme music, not the song, but the theme music to like Star Wars or Indiana Jones, that inspirational music that you hear when you think of those movies. Did you know that movie producers will spend up to $5 million just for that background music? That's how important it is. But when's the last time you watched a movie and thought, I like that background music, or the score, I think is what it's called. We don't even think about it most of the time, do we? But as soon as I say something like Indiana Jones, you've got that music coming in the back of your head if you're familiar with the movie, don't you? That's how important it is. SEO is something that, if done right, will never be seen, and no one will ever think about it. But your website will be right there, just right at the top, whenever they type in just the right keywords that your company wants to be found for. That's how important SEO is. Number 2, what training do you need to be an SEO specialist? I do get this one a lot. I ask people what kind of training I've had and what kind of training I need. And I'm glad when people ask me. But although the answer isn't going to be what you expect, because my answer is I really don't know. See, I've been doing this for so long. I started doing SEO. I stumbled on it in 1995, and I started doing SEO in 2002 as part of my business when I started as a web design business. Now we're a search engine optimization business that also does web design. So we switched it from being a web design business to a marketing business. But I don't know what kind of training you would need today to get started. I know there's a lot of places where you can get training, but here's the thing. You don't want to get training from somebody who hasn't done it themselves and been successful at it. And this is the catch for that, though. If they're a successful SEO person, why are they really training other people? We have some training ourselves that we do, but not the full training on it. And the reason why I say that is because some of this stuff is so technical that you would never want to know it, first off. I'd say about 70% of the SEO stuff out there you can do yourself. And I'm going to be talking about that in another one of the questions. But if you're interested, go to the website, look at the banner at the top, and you can find out how to do some of that SEO stuff yourself as well. But as far as training goes, you want to get training from somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And if they know what they're talking about, they're probably doing it. And we generally make more money doing it than we do training people to do it. The really technical part, that 30%, very technical. The reason why I'm so good at SEO is literally because I figured out the formula. And there is a formula for it. It's not brain surgery, but it is rocket science. There is a certain way that you need to do step 1, step 2, step 3, and you need to do step 1 before step 3, and you need to do step 57 before you do step 85. Sometimes you can do step 97 before you do step 36, but not always. Those are the kinds of things that I've learned over 20 years of doing this. And I hate to say, but most SEO companies don't know most of this stuff because they just haven't been doing it that long. The big thing today is WordPress, and WordPress assumes quite a lot. There's a lot of things that you can do in WordPress that WordPress actually doesn't automatically do. And there's plugins like some of you may know about Yoast, the plugin. I highly recommend that for an SEO plugin, and it does a great job, but it's not perfect. There's other things that you still need to do, even with the Yoast plugin, to make your search engine optimization work right. And that's why people hire SEO experts. So yes, you can do a lot of the training yourself. In fact, I highly recommend for smaller businesses, do some of it yourself or hire an SEO person to do some of it themselves. But then you hire the expert to do that 30% that is so technical that most people don't even want to learn. That 30% is what's going to get you onto page 1. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Easy SEO and More. I'm going to go through more questions next week. So look for episode 54 in 7 days. Y'all have a great day.